Hi folks, it's Jason here. Haven't done a video in a week or so, a little over a week, but I am back, and I just thought I would do a request that I had for a video, and that was to talk about tart burners, specifically the different kinds of tart burners there are, and my thoughts on them. I have put out 3 of my tart burners, and I thought it would be easier just to kind of focus the camera on the burners rather than my face. For one, my camera has a weird thing with the audio and video not being in sync completely. So I'm going to try this out and see how it goes. I know you're probably missing my beautiful face. No, I'm joking. But anyways, it's still the same me. Um, but I didn't put out all my warmers. I just put out 3 of different kinds, so I can kind of talk to you about them. I do have a couple more. Or actually 2 of them currently have tarts in them, so I'm not gonna bring those out right now, and they're melting. So, but I brought out 3 of them, and they're all different. This one is a an electric tart warmer, but it's the kind with the bulb. And this is a Scentsy warmer, but there are other brands that make this kind of warmer with the bulb. And I'll get into this in more depth in just a moment. This one is an electric tart burner that just you plug in, turn it on, and this kind of like a hot plate, and this gets hot and it warms your tart in the bowl there. And then this is a Tealight melter, so, or warmer. I call them, I've been known to call them tart melters, tart warmers, tart burners. Really, I don't think there's one right way to say it, and I kind of mix it up and say all of that. So, so if you hear me say melter or warmer or burner, I mean the same thing. Excuse me. So I'll start with this light bulb warmer, and it is my least favorite. Actually, I love the look of it. The design is really pretty, and Scentsy makes some really pretty warmers. However, the bulb just doesn't get hot enough. It comes with a 25-watt bulb, and in my experience, it just doesn't get hot enough to melt anything but Scentsy. Well, I take that back. Most anything but Scentsy. I have had success with a couple of really soft melts, but if you're like using Yankee or something like that, or Candles from the Keeping Room, their wax is very, very hard paraffin wax, and you're not going to melt it with a 25-watt bulb. Now, however, the Scentsy wax is soft, and the Better Homes and Gardens wax cubes are very soft as well, and so they work really, really well in this kind of warmer. And it doesn't get very hot. I mean, it's just a 25-watt bulb, so it doesn't get hot, but it just enough to melt the wax. And I think some softer soy type melts would work in this one too, but I find I don't use it. For one, I don't use it a lot. I don't love Scentsy in general. So, and then my Better Homes and Gardens cubes, they work just as great in another kind of warmer. So I just find I don't use this a lot. I did try. Somebody on the Yankee Facebook page recommended swapping out the 25-watt bulb for a 40-watt bulb, and they said that would get it hot enough to melt anything. So I did that, and it did work. I was able to melt my Yankee tarts. The thing is it burned out really quickly, and I don't know if that's because it's just not made for it, but it burned out very quickly. I'd say maybe after 24 hours of use, it burned out. So, and I don't think that's normal. So I do think it's probably because they're not designed for a 40-watt bulb. So I haven't tried it again. I do love the look of it, so I really wish it worked for me. And like I said, it burns Scentsy beautifully, burns Better Homes and Gardens cubes beautifully. So if you're into those, you know, definitely I would invest in a Scentsy warmer. But if you're mostly into Yankee or vendor tarts, I find that most of them don't work in that. So that's the one I use the least. And the next one I have is a regular electric Tart warmer, and this is the kind of electric warmer I really like. It has a bowl that comes off like that, so this is nice because you can, when there's Tart in there, you can when it hardens, you can put it in the freezer, rather than the one piece like this. I don't put it in the freezer, and I'll tell you how I get the Tart out of this one in just a bit. But this one's nice. You can just toss, or you know, put the bowl in the freezer for a while, and then your Tart will pop out. And also, this one doesn't require a tea light or a flame of any kind, so it's really nice. You can just put your Tart in there, turn it on. It's got a cord with a little thing to turn it on, and let it go. And they're very, very safe, and I just really like it. Now this one in particular I don't love, only because the wattage is not hot enough, again, for a lot of my tarts. So what you want to do when looking at a Tart warmer like this is look on the bottom, and it will tell you the wattage of your warmer. This one happens to be 14 watts, which unfortunately is just not hot enough. Not for me, for the kind of tarts I mostly burn. And I mostly use paraffin tarts, so they tend to be harder in wax, and it doesn't melt it all the way, and it takes a really long time to melt. So even when it does melt, it's kind of still hard around the edges, and it just doesn't throw as well, because it's, you know, the hotter you burn it, you melt your tarts out, the stronger the throw is going to be. So you need a 24 watt. I love this one, but unfortunately I don't use this one that much because, again, it's just not hot enough. And the weird thing is, this one didn't come from Yankee, but most of Yankee's electric Tart burners they sell are 14 watts also, which is just not hot enough. Now some people say they don't have any problem with it. I've tried it, and maybe my apartment's drafty or windy or something, I don't know, but I can never get a full melt pull in a 14 watt. So but a lot of people say that's fine, but I would recommend a 24 watt. For one, it's for sure going to melt. I mean, your house could be cold, and I do like to keep it colder, or you know, I get hot easily, so I tend to keep it cool in here. So I mean, but with a 24 watt, it doesn't matter what the temperature is inside your home, your Tart is going to burn, and burn hot, and also you're going to get the big throw. So tartburners.com has a lot of these kind of two-piece melters that are 24 watts. So if you are interested in that kind of warmer, you can definitely get one from tartburners.com. Excuse me. The last type of burner that I use, and I do tend to use a lot, is my Tealight Warmer. It's the good old-fashioned Tealight Warmer. And yes, you have to buy tea lights, but I find that my tarts really work nicely in this. You got to get a good tea light with a strong flame, but they work really nicely. Melt your tart very hot, so you get a good throw. However, I do tend to use an upside down, empty upside down tea light holder to put it upside down, and then that way your tea light is closer, your flame is closer to the bowl up here, and so you get a better throw. I feel like I've gone over this before, and maybe I have in a different video, but it bears repeating because if you can see, this is pretty far, the bottom of it, from the top, so you really need a good flame. And also, this kind is closed, and I prefer this kind. I forgot to bring out my other warmer, but there's also the two-piece kind where the lid sits on another piece, and I'm sorry, the Tart bowl sits on another piece, and that kind I don't like as well because to me there's too much air, and again, I guess maybe I keep my apartment too cool or something, but there's too much air, and I find they don't melt as well. So I do like this one piece kind, and it kind of encloses your tea light, and also you get a really pretty glow. I love candlelight, and that's why I don't just use Tarts, I use candles too, because I love that glow of the flame. So this is my favorite. This one was from Yankee, and I have several of these. And oh, I wanted to mention this. I wouldn't put the whole thing in the freezer. However, when it hardens, the Tart hardens, put a couple of ice cubes on top and leave it sitting for, on the counter for 10 minutes or so, and your Tart will pop right out usually. And sometimes I have to kind of help it, nudge it along with the butter knife or something, but usually it'll pop right out with the ice cubes on top. So that's a neat trick for the one-piece burners that you don't want to put the whole thing in the freezer. So so that is my video. You have 3 basic kinds of Tart burners to choose from, and I do like the electric, but again, you have to have a 24 watt, and I do use my Tealight Warmer probably the most. So hope this helps for anybody that's kind of new to Tarts or struggles to get a good throw from your Tart. So happy melting, everybody. Bye.